Gaming Geek here with another how to paint tutorial for Warcry. I have painted up 4 warbands, chaos warbands that are exclusive to Warcry, but this is the first time that I'm going to be painting up one of the armies that is already a part of Age of Sigmar. And I've always wanted to play the Goblins, and so this is my chance. And I think this is your cheapest option in fielding a Warcry warband, because you can buy this Night Vault set with the Goblins, the Zarbag's Gitz, for $25. And I think this is the cheapest. You get 9 models here. And even though these don't necessarily match the picture, as long as your opponent is okay, you can proxy in all of these guys. So even though he's on a ball and chain, he can be one of your Boingrot bosses or riding a cave squig. He can proxy in for that. Obviously, Zarbag himself can be any of your leaders. You do get 3 archers, but you can also proxy them in for any of the stabas or with the spears. And you do get a netter. And so here is one of the guys, and I actually want to use him in my gameplay, because you can freeze someone in place if you're rolling successfully. So. And then you get 2 cave squigs, and they do quite a bit of damage. So this box set, I think, is an incredible deal. Now, after you play it, and you might want to expand, because the goblins are so small, you can buy grots, basically the base minions, 20 of them for $30. So they are super cheap. So if you want to spam a bunch of archers, a lot of grots just for $30, so that's relatively cheap. I went ahead and did purchase the squig hoppers. This box set, it's a little bit more expensive. I got it for $42, but this will give me all of these 4 characters and even more. So I think I'm going to lean in the direction of doing Boingrots, because I like that they can attack from 2 inches away, and so I'd rather give up the 2 inches of movement that the squig hoppers get in order to be able to do that. So I hear that actually the goblins are a pretty strong faction, and so I'm excited to try these guys out. But painting them is pretty simple. And so as you can see here, I used all contrast paints for this, and you are able to do these 9 miniatures fairly quickly, because there's no highlighting involved. So all you're doing is 1 coat of each color using contrast colors, and this is a quick way to field them. And I think they look awesome and they look hilarious. I've always wanted to play them, so I'm so excited that I have them for Warcry. So go ahead and continue watching as we dive into painting these miniatures. So the first thing we got to do is prime all of the figures with white. And I use Rust-Oleum's 2x Ultra Cover. That's my favorite. It's only like $3 and something cents at Walmart, and it sticks very well. And then the bases, I just use gray, regular gray. Again, I use Rust-Oleum, but you can use whatever color you want. And actually, with this guy, Zarbag, he has a bunch of shrooms, and so I actually spray paint them white, and then glue them on here and stick gray along the base. Paint gray, actually. And the gray that I use that matches pretty well with the spray paint is this Americana Zinc. And now what I'm going to do is dry brush on Gray Sky, which is a lighter gray. So just, oops, that's a lot on there. Let me take some off. And you just dry brush it by going over it like this. Going in all directions. So pretty much like that. So when that dries, you're going to either put on Army Painter's Dark Tone or Citadel's Nuln Oil. They are both the same, and if you want to see my review of these different shades, go ahead and click here and you can see the comparisons, and these have exactly the same effect. This is just a lot cheaper, so if you need to buy one, buy this one. So I'll go ahead and use this and just squirt it directly onto the base, and use a brush, big brush, and just move it around. And as you can tell, I prefer to do this while the miniature is still not on the base, because it's just a lot easier not to get this stuff on there. But you can do it with the mini already attached, so that's pretty easy, right? Same thing for Zarbags. Squirt some on there. And if you're using Nuln Oil, the pot, you just load up your brush and apply it like this, right? So either way works. For the color of the skin, you have a lot of choices here, and I have 3 contrast colors: Plaguebearer Flesh, Militarum Green, and Orc Flesh, and then Army Painter Green Tone. And if you want to see a quick paint video that I do with 40k orcs, go ahead and click here, and you can see that I spray paint with a light olive and then use green tone, and it has great effect. But you can also put this onto white, and let me show you the comparisons of the skin tone colors here with these models where I did an experiment. And so this is Plaguebearer Flesh, and this is the color I'm choosing for my goblins. But you can also use Militarum Green, which gives you this sort of olive color, and then the green tone of Army Painter gives you this nice color as well. And then finally the Orc Flesh is the most green, and you can choose to use that. So it really is what color do you want your guys to be. And again, I'm going to choose the lightest one here, the Plaguebearer Flesh. And that's just a personal decision. But part of the reason is because so much of the model is dark, is black, that I wanted something that was pretty light in comparison to all of the black that's on this figure. And so it just makes it pop out a little bit more versus a darker green. So I'm going to do his feet and his face. So basically all the skin I'm just washing like this. So really, really quick and easy. Make sure you get back in there underneath the hood. This is his arm that goes to the hand that's on the base. And then this hand here. And again, the trick is to try not to get it onto the handle of the whatever this thing is. And you'll definitely want to do assembly line style, because with all of these washes you have to wait until it dries for the most part. And so by the time you do all the models, you can come back and this should be dry. Don't forget to do the hand that's right here holding the lantern. Don't forget the ears too. I forgot the ears on the minions. So normally after the base dries, I go ahead and stick the model halfway onto the base so that it's lifted off, because it makes it easier to paint the robe black without touching the base. Now with Zarbag, it's too hard to do that because it has all these bits and mushrooms around him. So I'm putting him onto just this sticky tack on top of this paint bottle to paint him. So I'm going to go ahead and use my Black Templar to do all of the black robes. And so just be careful not to get it onto the skin. And again, by keeping it off the base, I don't have to worry about accidentally getting some of this onto the base. And just work quickly that way on the bottom part of the robe. Now one thing I noticed with the Black Templar is invariably you will miss some spots, and there'll be like these little dots that you have to go back and paint. And that's fine, that's sort of perfectly normal. It's very hard to know, because sometimes you get bubbles onto the surface of where you're painting, and that will create these dots that you won't actually see until after it dries. But that's okay. You can always just go back and do a little bit of touch-up later on. This is snakebite leather that I'm going to use for the staff. So after the Black Templar dries, I go ahead and just take white, paint over the spots where I got the black on, where I don't want it to be. And then I'll go ahead and grab my detail brush and do the yellow squigglies are gonna go. And I just do sort of random swirls like that. And that's going to help me later when I put on the yellow. Now I grab my Seraphim Sepia shade, or if you have it, you can grab a contrast skeleton horde. It's the same color. I'm going to go in and do ropes, and this is really light and subtle. And then also any of the bones. So there's a skull in here. And an actual bone sticking out here. You also want to get this string that's right here. And then also the string holding their bags and pouches. And on the other models, you will have to paint over these strings with white first before you put on the Seraphim Sepia. Don't forget his little bone up here in his hat. I'm also going to use it on the mushrooms. And so on the mushrooms, the stalks, and the ones that you're not going to paint red and you want it to sort of be white, go ahead and do the caps for those. Now it's time to do the silver. So grab any silver that you have. You also want to do this blade. Also, don't forget to get the cage and paint that silver. After the silver dries, go ahead and grab your dark tone or your Nuln Oil and go over the silver just to provide some shade. Go ahead and grab your Iyanden Yellow. And all we're doing here is this front part, and it actually doesn't matter if you get some on the black, as long as you're just covering the white spots, like so. Grab your Talisar Blue, and we're going to do the fairy, and you actually don't want a lot of this stuff. Just a little bit. And then the other spot you want to do this Talisar Blue is one of these mushroom caps, these tall ones. So just be careful doing this. You know what, I'm not satisfied with this blue. And so I'm getting just some white and touching it up here on the inside so that it helps it look like it's glowing a little bit more. It's time for the Blood Angels Red. Also do the shroom in here. And then also his eyes. I'm grabbing Magos purple and doing one of these other shrooms with it. Also Volupus pink for the other shroom. And then I'm actually gonna color his other pouch with the Volupus pink. You can make it any color that you want. Now go through with white and just dot these raised bumps on the shrooms. And feel free to add some yourself if you like. More dots. Finally, I grabbed some marigold yellow, and you can grab any kind of light orange or yellow like this. I'm going to dot the eye. Just like that. Also do the teeth. At this point he's ready to go into his base, but I usually clip these to be a little bit shorter since I got a couple layers of paint on them, and so they're going to be a little bit harder to push down in there. So he's not going anywhere. Cave squigs are super easy. You grab your Blood Angel's Red. While we're waiting for the red to dry, I'm going to go ahead and hit up this pool down here with some of the Talisar blue. And I did paint it white after I dry brushed it gray and then put a wash in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the cap, mushroom cap, Magos purple, as well as the branding mark. The gums are done with Volupus pink. After that dries, go ahead and grab your Seraphim Sepia and do the claws and the teeth. And in this particular base, the skull. Then do all the rings. You can either do it brass or gold. I'm doing mine silver. While I'm waiting for the silver to dry, I'm going to go ahead and base this part black. Then finally use dark tone just to darken up the silver, as well as I dot the eyes just to give a black surround for it. Oop, that was too much. All we have to do is spray with dull coat for a protective varnish. Alright, so check it out. Here is the finished products, and I think they look pretty good. And out of all of my Warcry warbands so far, these goblins are actually the quickest and easiest to paint. So this is a really quick and easy way to have the goblins as one of the options for the warbands. And I'm really looking forward to playing these guys. In fact, I'm going to be playing tonight, and so I'm glad that I was able to get these finished so quickly. So hopefully this video was helpful, and thanks for watching. Please subscribe and check out some of my other painting videos. I have a number of other warbands that I paint quickly using mostly contrast colors, so check those out as well. But otherwise, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.